Everyone, welcome to James Quest, and today we got episodes 5 and 6 of Daredevil Born Again, which you might have forgotten about because a lot of overshadowing happening with Marvel, because Marvel also decided to do pretty much an entire 5.5 hour stream where they were slowly revealing the casting chairs for the cast of Avengers Doomsday. And because of that, that's all anyone was talking about, and pretty much everyone almost ignored Daredevil coming out with 2 episodes on Tuesday night because of everything that happened today. So yeah, kind of interesting. But anyways, let's talk about Daredevil. So first, I would say, I'm really glad that they came out with these 2 episodes together, because I feel like if they had just come out with episode 5, you would hear a lot of complaining right now. And maybe you still do, I haven't actually checked, but I feel like it would be even worse than, whatever complaining there might be. Because episode 5, compared to episode 6, feels like the perfect, dichotomy? To show the difference between the tones of what this show originally probably was versus what they then reshot and re-edited to more match the tone of the original Netflix show with episode 6, because these feel like 2 completely different shows, both in style, in tone, and just everything about them, and yet they are in the same show. And not only that, they directly mention each other happening right after the other one. So yeah, it's, I don't know, you watch them both and you're like, wow, this one is a lot more jokey, a lot more lighthearted, it's a lot more direct with its references, and the other one goes back to being dark and serious and dramatic, and we're talking about trauma, and we're dealing with all this other stuff, right? So yeah, I don't know, I think that's just the first really obvious thing that comes to mind, is that this is a very different show than what we would have ended up happening. Now, having said all that, I did not hate episode 5. Episode 5 was very much, I guess you'd call it a bottle episode. Takes place almost entirely inside of this bank, and it's really just Matt trying to get a loan for his law firm or something. But the real big reason that we're here is because it is Kamala Khan's father who works here, and man, they really, really want to make sure that you know that this is Kamala Khan's father. And by that I mean, they say Kamala, they name drop her at least 7 to 9 times over and over again. My daughter Kamala, 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 and then they even name drop Miss Marvel, and then they even push it further by literally showing a Funko Pop of Miss Marvel and him going look, it's New Jersey's superhero, Miss Marvel. You've never heard of her? And I don't know. I can't tell if they were doing all of that to be funny, or if they had a note from someone, from a studio head or something, and was like, hey, we are kind of worried that maybe the audience won't remember who this guy is supposed to be. So we need you to really, really double down that this is Miss Marvel's dad, Kamala Khan. Remember, she had her own TV show, and then she was in the Marvels. You remember, right? So I don't know. It's kind of funny. In the past episodes, we hear them mention very vague things, like someone says the word scroll once, or someone mentions a spider costume once, and that's kind of it. And now it's just so you're just hammering that nail in. Kamala, Miss Marvel, remember? Don't you remember? And I don't know, it's just weird. At that point, I'm like, just have her show up then. If you're gonna hammer it in that much, just have Miss Marvel show up for a second or on screen or something. Why? I don't know, it kind of took me out of the episode, and it was very strange, and I was like, yeah, I get it, I know who this is, you don't have to do all that. Him being here is enough of a cameo and enough of a reference that people who are paying attention a little bit know who this is, right? He was in the movie, he was in the Marvels movie, so, and I know maybe not everyone saw that one, but I don't know, it felt really weird how much they were obsessing over it. I don't, it just seemed strange. Anyways, Yeah, the large majority of that episode is just kind of a bank heist goes down. Matt's trying to like get them all out of this situation. There are some other references that are probably being dropped that I did not catch. Like there's the police negotiator. They say her full name, and she gets a lot of talking time. And I don't know if is she supposed to be somebody? Because I don't know who that's supposed to be. But it felt like, it felt like that was supposed to be a reference to something, or I'm supposed to know who this character is, or maybe they're gonna have a superhero persona one day. But I don't know who that is right now. So someone can tell me, or I'll go look up a YouTube video that's breaking down all the Easter eggs. But it felt like that was supposed to be somebody. Anyways, and that's really it for episode 5. Like he pretty much gets an invitation to, like, hey, come have dinner with me and my family. You kind of helped save my life in this bank heist, right? And you do get the sense that, like, okay, maybe that will come back, and that was the entire point of episode 5, was to somehow have Daredevil meet Ms. Marvel, which, hey, I would not complain if that happened, but I guess my main thing is, like, why name drop her so much and like show her Funko Pop and do all this stuff? Like, just let her show up at that point. Like, like, if you're gonna take me out of the episode this much, like, then just do the cameo, do the full thing. Like, anyways, so that's pretty much episode 5. The only real connection we get is that someone named Luca is after this diamond, and he's the one who hired these bank robbers, and that's pretty much all we get. And then the next episode starts, and this Luca person shows up to the Kingpin and refuses to pay him money that he owes. So you kind of see how Kingpin is starting to be disrespected in the criminal underground, right? Or underworld. And so you get this sense of, like, oh, Kingpin's starting to lose a little bit, like he tried to, like, separate himself from that past life and be like an actual good mayor, but obviously, like you kind of suspect, the cracks are starting to form, and he's starting to, like, be Kingpin again. And by the end of this episode, of course, he will be. And this episode did a lot, actually. Like this is the episode 6 here. Like, it brought all those loose threads that I was kind of complaining about in episode 4. All these, like, dangling threads that seem to have nothing to do with each other. They're finally all tying together, because we basically have Fisk forming a anti-vigilante task force using all of the bad cops, using the Punisher logo, right? Like all those guys who killed White Tiger. He's forming a task force with them to go hunt down Muse, because they just now discovered that, like, oh, all this graffiti all over town, it's blood, it's human blood. And there's at least 60 plus people, all, I don't know how you get that. Look, I don't know, like, the realism of, how CSI work would be done as far as, like, blood analysis. Like, if you just scrape a little bit of that paint off and you're like, oh, it's mixed with human blood, and also we're able to tell that there's 60 plus people here. I don't know. They know that people have been disappearing throughout the city, but they specifically say they're able to get at least like 60 plus victims out of just the blood samples. Which, okay, fine, whatever. I don't know how science works. I'll assume that that's possible for the TV show. Okay. Anyways, and yeah, basically they formed this task force, and White Tiger's niece, I forget her name right now, but the one who's very clearly going to one day turn into the second White Tiger. Like, she was given the amulet, and we know that eventually she's gonna put it on, she's gonna put the mask on, and now she's the new White Tiger. Like, it's superheroes, that's what's gonna happen, anyway, so she's investigating the people going missing, because she brought this to Matt's attention, because that's something that her uncle was investigating before he died. So now she, of course, tries to figure out on her own. She immediately gets captured, and I mean, like, immediately. Like, she's walking around, she sees some graffiti, and the next thing we see, she's captured by Muse. Okay. And yeah, Matt is able to find her very quickly, like, so quickly, like right before, like, all her blood is gone, he shows up. I don't really know how he found her. Maybe he was, he called her phone and she didn't answer, so maybe he was able to, like, track her phone number or something, or track her phone down somehow. I don't know. I maybe we can assume that he was able to, listen out for Muse and somehow use that to track him down. The point is, he shows up, they have a pretty decent fight, and he's able to save her life while Muse escapes. Now, we have this task force that was formed, and you can only imagine that this task force is, of course, going to go after Daredevil at a certain point, or the task force is basically going to be used as, Kingpin's like secret police, essentially, right? Like, he's going to send these people after whoever he feels like need to go down. So Daredevil, Punisher, Muse, it makes no difference to him, right? Like, he's got his own secret police now. This is, the level of mob muscle that he basically has been needing, right? He even like says like, oh, you guys are overzealous. Some would call it a gang, but I think you're just passionate or something. So he basically has some semblance of a gang again, like his old life of the underworld criminal element, he now has kind of made it an official thing of the mayor. We're like, hey, this is all legal. It's, they're a task force, but let's be honest, they're here to go beat up or even kill whoever I say needs disappearing, right? So yeah, he's in a scary spot. He pretty much has all the power. He even takes out, what's his name, Adam, the guy that he's had in a cage this whole time, the guy who slept with his wife. He beats the crap out of him. I'm assuming that he's dead, but he does throw him back in the cage, so maybe he's not dead. I don't know. But he does the thing where he hands him an axe and he's like, go ahead, let's have a fight. So he just gives this guy, a chance, I guess, by handing him this axe. But of course, he easily beats the crap out of him. And that's pretty much where we end this episode. And I gotta say, having Daredevil back in the costume, seeing the corrupt cops, like, finally tied together with everything going on with Fisk as mayor, Muse finally being introduced as like a threat, not just like a background thing, like he's actually like a character and a threat and a thing that we have to stop. It's all actually tying together really nicely. And of course, episode 6, like, the tone is back to being dark and dramatic and serious again. And I gotta say, it's just it's funny almost watching these two episodes back to back. Like, the tonal whiplash is pretty intense. like episode 5 ends on such a happy note, and then episode 6 begins on like him doing his prayer over Foggy and remembering the night he died, and it's all like really sad and dramatic. I'm like, these could not have been more different. It's so funny. Anyways, yeah, I gotta say, I don't hate episode 5. I feel like that's going to be something a lot of people get really mad about. Like, oh, I can't believe they kept this in here. But you know what? Even though it was really on the nose and they they really hacked away at it, I am glad that we do have tie-ins to, the rest of the universe. Because if you're going to take the Netflix Daredevil and you're going to make it part of the MCU, you got to do it. Like, if it exists in the same world, then someone who lives only a couple miles away in New Jersey or whatever, and they're right there, also being a superhero, it feels like you have to make those connections. Otherwise, why are you in the same universe? So anyways, yeah, I think episode 6 was the better one tonally, and episode 5 is probably more in line with what the show was originally going to be, a lot more of a lighthearted touch to it. But yeah, he's back in the costume. He's doing the thing. We've introduced Muse, and I think we have 3 episodes left in this season. So I will say, I wish that this had come like 2 episodes earlier. If we had reached this part in episode 4 instead of episode 6, I would feel a lot better as far as like the trajectory of the overall season, because right now it felt like it started really strong, and then it kind of dragged all the way till you get to episode 6, and now we're finally picking stuff back up, so I don't know. I feel like people are gonna say that this is definitely not as strong as the original Netflix show, but it still has its moments. It still has some genuinely great moments in there, even if you can tell, because of what the show originally was and all the re-editing and reshooting they had to do, that there's a lot of tonal imbalance here from episode to episode. And like I said, this is the prime example. Episode 5 and 6 just could not be more different, and it's kind of fascinating to see, right? Like I almost want to reach into that alternate universe and check out, like, what was this show originally, you know, before all the before there was so much intensity and blood and darkness. Like, what was the show exactly? Because it feels like it would have been a lot more of an episodic procedural crime thing where, like, he's, you know, he's in court a lot, or he's doing little bottle episodes where he's stuck in a bank heist or something, you know. Kind of fascinating. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about episodes 5 and 6 of Daredevil. Do you feel how I feel? How, like, it's just so these are so different episodes. And also, how do you feel about Marvel doing the chair thing, where, like, they spent 5.5 hours slowly showing a different chair with a different actor's name on it? And, you know, don't get me wrong, some of those announcements were really cool, but why do it that way, you know? I don't know. Like, it feels like you could have waited for a Comic-Con or something to, you know, have some of the actors come out on stage or something. This was an interesting decision to announce them over the course of 5.5 hours on a live stream where nothing's happening except chairs. So, okay. Anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.